Oh, welcome to part 2 of my DIY custom case. Let's start right away. For the case itself, it took me a while to get a place where I could buy such thin steel plate. And the company I ended up with was around a half-hour drive with a train and a 10-minute walk. And of course, back, but with the plate. That was awkward, but I cut the plate with a cutting machine on the school, so the two sides, so two squares were cut off, and I measured out where the holes need to be with a carving pen and a permanent marker. This would give me a more visual representation where the holes were going to be. For the big 120mm fan holes, I drilled a lot of small holes around the border, as you are watching right now. And then I cut it out with the Dremel later on, and just cut out the pieces between the holes. I did the square holes completely with Dremel. After I made all the holes, I smoothed them down with a fell, as Google Translate says it's called, but I have my doubts. You can leave down a comment below if you know what I mean and know what it's called. But I used down a fell to smooth down the edges. I ended up cutting the plate in half because I need to put it in the set bank. Google Translate doesn't know what it is, so you can leave that down if you know. But to set the corners, I used the set bank to set the corners in the steel so it would have a box. I also used a drill to drill out the nails of the drive bay and the back IO, and used a Dremel to cut it out into the shapes. I've used pop nails. Google, go fix your things. I used pop nails to put these all pieces back together into one big computer case. Also, I wanted to reuse the side panels that were on my old case, but they need to have the right dimensions. So I measured out where I need to cut them and used the saw together with a Dremel to cut that part out, as you can see right now on the screen. As you can see, we now have a case and two panels that we can put on top of it. One on top and one in the sides, and the hinges work wonderful, and it just closes really nicely. Next up, I smoothed down the panels with an 150 grit sandpaper and just smooth it down simply. I have a different panel, and then you can see the difference of what the impact that has. This will make the paint sticks much better into the surface because the other one is a little bit glossy. After this, I would use some smoother sandpaper grit 600 or so and make it nice and smooth, so the paint would dry really smooth. The camera doesn't focus, doesn't really work. But this is the grill that used to be in the old case, and I was housing an 120mm fan, and I want to keep that in there for detail and just the fact of looking back of what it used to be. But it takes a lot of that time to sand down properly, and if you want to do this such thing, you might want to reconsider this kind of stuff. So these are my steps. 150 grit sandpaper, then a 600 grit sandpaper with soapy water, most likely with sandpaper that can hold water, then a towel with soapy water to clean it, and then a towel with some ammoniac or something like that. After that, the painting can begin. So fun facts, the next shots are shot like this, just two sticks taped to a balcony. If it works, it works, right? Well, enjoy the next time lapse. See you after that.
We are time I think of you and I, it takes me to a special place in my mind where we can be together. And I still hope that you'll be mine forever. Even though you're far away, I still know we need to win. We are together.
Do you still remember that I told you that after we're done sanding it down we could go to painting? Well, that's not true at all, because if you need to tape stuff down, parts that you don't want to paint, you probably want to use some painting tape. Well, that's odd name, painting tape. Or you want to use some painting tape to tape off the areas that you don't want any paint on. For me it's the back IO, because I don't want paint on that. I just want it to be the color that it is, because I like that, and I don't want paint always increases the size a tiny little bit, and I don't want that to happen on such components, so I will tape that all off. I just have two types of tape. One type is the small one type is the really big one. I use the big one for the big areas and the small one for the small areas, of course. I like to do just starting off with the hard areas and then ending with the easy ones, because in that way when you do the easier areas first, you always keep on having the hard areas and you still need to tape that, and when you're taping the hard areas you also tape the easy areas. But if you start taping the hard areas like corners and that sort of stuff, you also tape a little bit of the easy areas off, and that way you're more productive. So after this we can go straight to painting. For the paint, I first needed to remove the two hinges so it would have a flat surface to paint on. I've used around 2 to 3 layers of white primer. The first layer was applied right after the last cleaning of the sanding work. Each of these layers was applied on a different day, so the layers could dry. Also, before the second and third layer, I sanded down the bad parts a little bit more to get a smoother finish, just those sand corals that are on some places or some dust particles. After the layers of primer, I added 2 to 3 more layers on the same way, with the time in between and the sanding, to get it just a nice white surface. So about the sanding, I used some wet P600 sandpaper to smooth down some small particles that were being applied by the wind on the metal, and I smoothed that down with the sandpaper. I only did that after the primary layers, and after that it was such smooth that I didn't have any problems with normal paint layers. But your results may vary, so you could do some difference. It only would take a little bit more time to do more sanding. So after the paint job was finished, I needed to make pass-through for the LED strips. Every LED panel needs to have its own dedicated hole beneath it, so I can supply power to that specific LED strip. So I centered 4 holes on every side where the LED panels are going to be. Then I used a big drill to drill holes through the metal casing. I wanted to add protection for the cables so they don't get stripped down by the case on the sharp edges of the holes, but mine were too big. So I took a scissor and I cut them down in a little so they are a little bit smaller, and after that I push them into the holes, and these will protect the cable. So all the way back in the start of part 1 I've told you that I would come back to you about the holes of my motherboard. I did not take into account the size of the bracket on the back of the case, so I measured that and redraw the correct holes in the position on the case, and centered them and used a 4mm drill to drill the holes again. After that I've used a big drill to smooth down the edges. Just give it a small tap and don't push down the drill too hard, since that will only make the holes bigger. So now it's time to put in the components in a new case. I started with the motherboard and used some plastic rings as standoffs. I needed to use twice below it and one above it to screw down the motherboard at its place that it should be. It is lined up with the back I/O, so the back I/O shield thingy that I didn't take in account, and it was quite a work to put all the things in there, and it took longer than I expected, but I was happy about it anyway. Next up was the power supply. You can see the motherboard stands out really well in this shot. It risen pretty far off the backside, but that doesn't matter for performance or anything, and you can see it when it's done. Putting all the components in was quite some hours of work. It's just like any other case, so I won't furthermore just skip it. For the LED strip, I wired them as followed. The red panel LED strip was connected to one of the 3 wires of the controller. In this case I used the middle one for turning around the wires, and it doesn't work. But only the red LED was connected to that. For the green I connected only the green. For the blue I connected only the blue one. For the white I connect them the wire up to all 3 LEDs to create white. For orange I connected red directly and used a 600 ohm resistor in front of the green one to dimly light up green. For yellow I did the same, but instead of 600 ohm I used a 6.8 ohm resistor to let the green light shine more but less than full brightness. Note that the 4th pin of the is the pin with the arrow on top of it, and is not part of the red, green, blue ones. So the only thing left to do right now is just press the on button. Enjoy. So thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Have a nice day and goodbye. So I know the panels are a little bit off, but I'm gonna fix that by buying more plastic invisible panels that you just look through and putting them in the back so the light can pass through, and it will be more suitable, because the magnets is not the ideal way to go around it, because they are very hard to maneuver. So then to the last subject about money. Well, it's a difficult subject, and I will just put the numbers on the screen right now so you can read them out. Basically, I bought 40 magnets on an app called Wish, about 10 plastic stands, and 4-pin cable connectors for the LEDs, which to get around 11 euros. Some aluminium hinges to some aluminium pipes of a meter, which was like which cost like 360. I brought some LEDs on Wish, and here's where Wish comes in. If some things on Wish is not right, you just need to contact them. And what they did in my case is they told me I could keep the LED strips, since there was LEDs was broken. Some were broken, some were well, there was some problems with them, so I contacted them and they said, "Yeah, well, you can keep it and you get your money back." So I did take it into the total amount of money, the total amount of cash spent, but it shouldn't be there. The steel itself was costing around 20 euros. I bought some primer paint, a paintbrush and a paint roller, some sandpaper, a Dremel bits. This is all tools, and tools, well, basically if you look around in your home you probably can find them yourself, or you could even do it cheaper. Dremel wasn't really necessary in my case. I could have done it with a saw that I already had, but I always wanted a Dremel and this was a good opportunity to buy one. Although I bought 3 extra dust filters on C computers for putting for the front, so it doesn't take in dust, because my old computer didn't have good dust filters and I wanted some proper ones. So basically you can take quite a lot of money off that list without any problems if you do it yourself. But if you want to know, the total amount of money I spent, as you can probably already read, is around 200 euros.